I think of the most important things that you can teach in that environment, one is like trust your palate. Like there's no like hard and fast rule that's always right that you always have to adhere to. It's like when you taste something, I'm going to teach you how to taste, but listen to yourself of like what you think tastes good and what is not, what doesn't serve you and what doesn't suit your palate.
Welcome to Beats Working, winning the game of events, where we share stories and strategies to turn any event or life moment into something unforgettable.
Events are wild, and the people who work in them are some of the most resilient humans on Earth. If you know, you know.
So come with us behind the curtain for a look at their most memorable experiences.
As they say, the show must go on, so let's get on with the show.
Welcome to another episode of Beats Working, winning the game of events. April Wachtel is the founder and CEO of Cheeky Cocktails, a Brooklyn-based company making premium non-alcoholic mixers that pair with both NA and full-proof spirits. Best of both worlds. With 20 plus years in the beverage industry, from Bacardi brand ambassador to Diageo consultant, she's taught 12,000 students how to craft cocktails and has been featured on The Today Show, Fox and Friends, and the Sundance Channel. Her mission is to make great drinks simple, fun, and accessible for everyone. April, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, the crowd goes wild. And for those of you following along, April was actually also on the Sober Curator podcast a few weeks back. For those of you that know that I show up on two different shows. So I love it when the two different worlds collide, because I love not drinking alcohol and I love to party. So those two things
and with Cheeky
go together.
Cocktails, you can do it all, people.
That's right. That's right.
Especially right now in dry January and throughout the rest of the year too. It's not just for dry January. Mm-hmm. So April, what first pulled you into the world of cocktails and hospitality, and how did that evolve into Cheeky Cocktails? That's a very big question. Basically, tell us your whole life story.
Yes. Well, I started in bars, well, not really in bars, but I started in restaurants when I was 13. So I just kind of grew up in the food world, learning, firstly, how to be less shy, because I was like a super shy kid. Secondly, learning about, I think, cuisine that was like more elevated than my parents' like burgers and like Chinese food that they made. And then I think thirdly, I started really learning about hospitality, both when I was in high school and then when I continued in the industry as a college student. And then I just stayed in the industry for years. And, you know, I think that people in the industry, you can decide, I want to stay in restaurants. I want to stay front of the house, back of the house. I'm going to move into events. I'm going to sort of deep dive into bar. And so for me, I felt like the intersection, or like the areas that I was most interested in, were beverage and the creativity around beverage, and then events as well. And so ultimately, just after many years of experimentation and a ton of different jobs, I figured out that essentially like executing and helping people execute great cocktails in high stakes environments, that was like kind of my wheelhouse and something that made me feel really good helping other people have great events. So that's how it all evolved.
I have said this before on other episodes. If I was picking a different career for myself, I think I would have picked hospitality if I had known, but also I love my job. So, you know, this is what I want to do. But in another life, I think I worked in the restaurant industry, because whenever we had events in restaurants, the camaraderie between the team, just working, just like I was helping bus at one event, and it was a Bloody Mary event. So there's too much glassware. There was more than anticipated. And so I was helping like bus and like go around corners, and was like, oh, I could have done this.
It's, you know, I think there's a lot of bad things about restaurants, mind you. The lifestyle, not for everyone, whatever. Mm-hmm. You're always working holidays, whatever. But at the same time, what you said is 100% true, is that you do form a bond and a relationship with the team around you. That's amazing. It's very rewarding to be moving sort of like in a symphony with other people. Mm-hmm. And I think
Totally.
but like really it felt and still does feel rewarding to me, like when you help make somebody's night and when they can tell that they're experiencing excellence, like it's just so rewarding helping people like celebrate their best moments. And that's ultimately, that's I think part of my transition out of restaurants into owning my own, cocktail mixer brand. Part of it was saying, okay, I can't physically do this forever. Like this is a sort of a young person's game. And then the other piece saying like, I want to put in a unit of effort and get more than one unit of like productivity out, which is a problem with restaurants. But when you have a brand or, when you're building a creative asset like a podcast, for example, you're investing in something that gains momentum and grows more in the future. So that was something that was very compelling to me about the transition.
Don't you both think, though, I think everyone should start in restaurants and hospitality.
100%.
Because it'll make you a better human and how you treat those that will serve you later on.
Totally.
My first job was in a truck shop restaurant, Bill and B's. It's still there, halfway between Seattle and Portland.
Cute.
And everything I needed to learn about events, I'm pretty sure I learned at Bill and B's.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who he's many years in the industry, beverage director. He's owned his own beverage brand as well. His name is John DeBerry. He did a lot of work.
I love John.
Oh, you know him? Okay.
Yes, I love John.
He's amazing. So we had this whole long conversation about how, I think that, and he thinks that the experience in restaurants, it prepares you for so many potential careers or interests in the future, because you have to be versatile, you have to be adaptable, you have to think on your feet, you have to learn how to deal with humans in really challenging situations. And I think taking all of those skills, you can literally do anything that you want if you're willing to put in the work, afterwards. So I think it's great training for everybody.
It is. Everything I know, I learned waitressing at the St. Mary's Catholic Church Holiday Bazaar.
Yes.
When I was 12.
That's, by the way, the first time I ever worked for tips. It was at a church. I think I was also 12 because this is before my career started at 13. And it was a church. I think we made like $3. Oh, no, sorry. We made $12 in tips. And I was like, well,
that's
rich.
big money back then.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like,
big
we're
money.
So rich. Oh, yeah. It was
oh my gosh. Especially because you were volunteering, we're getting paid to waitress for these, all these blue hairs at this holiday bazaar. It was, you're doing good, but then you got tips.
I love that.
So we've talked about what we've learned in our early hospitality days. What have you noticed, April, about what people really want to learn when it comes to the cocktail classes that you've taught to thousands and thousands of people, whether they're making a cocktail with alcohol or zero proof, doesn't matter. It's still learning how to craft a specialty drink. What have you noticed that people really want to learn, or what stops them? Where do people get intimidated to try new things? Like, what does that all look like?
I mean, I think that people obviously want the ability to make something that tastes great. I also think oftentimes most of the time people are doing it for other people, not themselves. Meaning like they want to know how to do it for themselves, but it's more important to them what other people think of what they've made. So I found that in hospitality in general, and very much so in cocktails, it's such a high stakes environment that's like so emotionally loaded. There's so many people who are like judged on the hospitality they extend to other people, and like the breadth or the quality of the Thanksgiving meal that they put out, or whatever that may be. And so I think that, at least in my experience, people would come into my classes super intimidated. In many of these, it's like you come into a room where it's like stadium seating, and there's like 100 bottles of spirits and like 10 different syrups and juice, like a lot going on. And so I think for me anyway, I think of the most important things that you can teach in that environment, one is like trust your palate. Like there's no like hard and fast rule that's always right, that you always have to adhere to. It's like when you taste something, I'm going to teach you how to taste, but listen to yourself of like what you think tastes good and what is not, what doesn't serve you and what doesn't suit your palate. So I think conveying that and like the emotional safety, like just making it very low stakes for people to mess up. Like just, you know, me doing dumb stuff in the front of the class that makes them feel more comfortable, or, you know, just being very kind to people so they, again, feel comfortable experimenting and getting creative. I think those are really important. And then beyond that, and I'll just sort of fast forward because I could talk about this for a very long time, but I think beyond that, of the favorite things that I like to teach, it's like, there are a few sort of hard and fast principles of like flavor pairing or ratios where, like, you know, without fail, if I use roughly this ratio, it's not going to taste terrible. And I can adapt the ratio, and I'm going to try 3 different versions where, let's just say an example is like more citrusy or more sweet, or, you know, I would normally say like more spirit forward, but in the case of non-alc, it's like the non-alc spirit shines more than the other ingredients. So there's a few sort of ratios that I use to get people comfortable such that they can say, great, I've got the general formula and I'm going to get creative from here.
What was the transition like going from, you know, living in a world of, you know, like foolproof spirits and then crossing over into the non-alc space and, you know, really serving both audiences? Because I feel like that could be scary to the unknown, you know, to some people.
For me, it's very natural. So just rewinding a little bit, I am not like a natural flavor expert. Like, I had to learn this stuff, and I still, there's a lot of other people who have like much better intuition around like the nuances of flavor pairings than I do, but I have a lot of training in it at this point. So I would say that like I didn't really understand how cocktails taste balanced until I learned, for example, like one of the most common sour style ratios is it's like 2 parts spirit, 1 part citrus, 1 part sweet. In practice, we're just going to say it in ounces. In practice, a very common version of that is 1.5 ounces of the spirit or the non-alc spirit, and then 3/4 ounces each of the citrus, like lemon or lime juice, and then whatever the sweet ingredient is. So because I learned with that framework, it was really easy when all these non-alc spirits alternatives started popping up on the market, because there's a lot that are like, oh, it's like a non-alc gin or a non-alc tequila and so you can just pop them into those ratios. The rules are getting a little bit different because there's no rules with what they can and can't do as a non-alc spirit. So you do have to customize the recipe a bit more by the brand of non-alc spirit. Mm-hmm. But for me, it felt very intuitive. And again, as we see, there's like some other products that are coming to market, like whatever, Pathfinder or Gia, or, you know, some of these products that they're like more aperitif focused, where they're not like a vodka or they're not like a gin. And those are more complicated to work with in a standard cocktail ratio because there's just like not really precedence for it. So it's a learning experience in some, but like it's pretty easy, like especially using products like Cheeky, to say, I love margaritas, I'm going to do a non-alc one tonight. This, like the ratio, the recipe, I can just adapt it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? I feel like I was just talking for forever. Sorry.
No, it totally does.
It totally makes sense.
It just seems like it felt very natural.
Yeah. and I do think a lot of people have struggled in the transition because it's like there's all of these rules and regulations with spirits. And guess what? There's no rules and regulations with non-alc. And I think if you actually like really look at the industry and like everybody's making moves and launching new brands, I think the industry as a whole is trying to figure it out. Because again, like THC beverages didn't exist either, you know, before a handful of years ago. Mm-hmm. And so people are like, well, where does this fit in our lives and in drinks and rituals and all that stuff?
Absolutely. And, you know, to the event pros that are listening, because that is like the core audience that we serve here at Beats Working, winning the game of events. We know that you know how much your guests appreciate when a beverage offered at an event, regardless of the scale, if it's 20 people or 20,000 people, they want it to be both elevated and inclusive. And we're seeing that more and more and more and more. You have to be thinking for both sets of drinkers.
Totally.
And do it in a way that makes it's not a big deal. Like I've had people ask me, like, do you think that, you know, the alcohol bar should be separate from the non-alcohol bar? And I'm like, no, like that's like giving me a different glass. Like, why? That's like putting me at the kids' table. Please don't do that. And just because someone chooses not to drink zero proof for whatever reason doesn't mean that they don't still want to enjoy an elevated experience like the ones that are drinkers. I've also, in the last 5 years, with the Sober Curator, I've tasted a lot of terrible things in the non-alc world, like so bad. And so it's like so bad that I'm like, you don't really want me to write a review, do you? Because I'm going to be honest, as part of my sobriety journey is to be honest as well. And so, I think that it's been an interesting landscape to watch for sure. And I know, and that's everybody's taste is different, right? I might think something tastes amazing that Libby is like gross, although that doesn't usually happen. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I mean there's always been a need for elevated non-alc options at events. Like without fail, I've bartended a gabillion events, and I've produced a gabillion, and every time there's always somebody who it's typically more than one person. It's typically a handful of people, but way before the non-alc, this current era, who absolutely want to be included in every way that everybody else is, but just don't want to drink for whatever reason. Doesn't matter why. Sometimes it's serious where it's like something, you'll have a medical reaction. But for so many people, it's like, why do I have to explain or provide an excuse for why I don't want to drink alcohol? And be part of the social occasion. So it's amazing that it took like this long for this realization to surface in a really significant way. But I do think that, the consumers are making bartenders, restaurants, caterers provide these options, which is great.
I mean, it's in the headlines all the time now. And okay, this episode, it's January, so I know it's probably in the headlines more than usual because it's dry January and that's become a whole thing. But regardless of the time of year, I have no problem finding major news organizations dropping headlines that what is the demand is for a nightlife experience, an event experience, sans booze, right? Because people want to feel good the next day. They want to remember what they did. They want to have, they want to be fully present for the event that they're experiencing.
Totally.
I have a friend who he and his wife stopped drinking last year at some point. I can't remember when. And when we were over at their house and he was telling me about it, that he had stopped drinking alcohol and, they're in their 40s and, very successful, very healthy, like very fun people. And he was like, I've done everything you could imagine with alcohol. I've traveled, done events, concerts, comedy show. We were actually going to a comedy show that night. And he was like, how exciting is it to think about doing things without alcohol? He's like, I want to do that. I want to travel and see what it's like. I want to go to this comedy show with you guys tonight and see what it's like to have mocktails all night and just truly laugh, not just because of what I'm drinking making me laugh, but really enjoying the experience. And it's just so refreshing that you can go to a comedy show and that there are drinks, options that are not just a giant Diet Coke, which is what I got because, me and the Diet Coke.
Yeah.
April, aren't you seeing a lot of people that they might start with a full proof cocktail first, but then they switch over to a zero proof? Are you seeing that trend as well? I think the phrase they've called it is zebra striping or something like that. Where people
that's what I'm doing this weekend.
They still want to drink, but they don't want to drink every single drink all night with alcohol.
Totally. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And mind you, I also do that personally. And I think it's interesting because sort of before this whole non-alc phenomenon popped off, so we're talking 2014-ish, there was already a migration. So in my evolution in the sort of hardcore craft cocktail speakeasy world, there was a real return to very spirit forward cocktails. That's, a lot of the pre-prohibition cocktails are super spirit forward, like boozy. And there was already like a clear migration where people started offering low ABV options as well. So that might be like a drink with sherry, which is like a lower, proof thing. It could be drinks with wine, like alternatives to a sangria. So varying ways that people could have like a full cocktail with less alcohol. Now, I think that's like a really lovely and elevated way to, drink a sherry cocktail with oysters or whatever. Like it feels like pretty fancy, but I do think most consumers would rather know this is a full drink. This is not a full drink. It has nothing in it, rather than being like, I just don't know. Like it could have like a quarter drink in it, or it could like have an eighth of a drink. And like, I just kind of don't know what I'm consuming. So I think it's a really nice way for people to be like, I know I can handle one drink, or I know I can handle two drinks. And then anything else is going to be non-alc. So it's just that it's really cool to see so many different ways of like incorporating into your lifestyle. But like, we see all of it. So.
Well, let's talk more. I want to get back to talking specifically about Cheeky, because the branding is such a good vibe. It's so clean. It's so fresh. It's so approachable. It's something, if you are an event planner, you want displayed at your bar, right? It looks good. And if you're in the event world, we care very much about aesthetics as much as we care about experiences. So talk to us a little bit about what that journey was like for you.
Yeah, let me actually grab a bottle from behind me for reference. My lighting is so like shiny and bright right now, but hopefully it's not going to reflect too crazy here. But so this is our espresso syrup. This is a 16-ounce version, and actually this product we were on Bon Appetit, New York Magazine, and Food and Wine's best beverage or food gifts for foodies, cocktail connoisseurs, or home mixologists with this exact product.
You guys, that's amazing.
Thank you. It's a very artisanal product. We source this locally roasted small batch single origin Nicaraguan coffee to make it. Anyway, it's a very high, very, very expensive, very high quality raw ingredients. So we just do a little bit of stuff to it, and that's how we get away with it. But anyway, so the branding journey, the first version of my business, it was called Swig and Swallow. Ran that for like 5 years. We had no idea what we were doing. Like we came from restaurants, but we had never built a product company. We didn't understand marketing or like how to sell the product. Like there was so much that we were just learning. And so that one, we really just like slapped together the design, and it was like, oh, it says Swig and Swallow on the bottle. And then I was like, oh, it needs to say cocktail mixers. And then I put it on the label in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? So it was it was really, I'm not like crazy embarrassed by it, but I'm embarrassed by it. You know what I'm saying?
Mistakes at full speed, April. Mistakes at full speed.
And that's what you didn't know.
And that's the thing is like, I'm not like kicking myself about it, but like in retrospect, you're like, damn, how did that happen that way? Like just whatever. But anyway, so with this, the funny thing with this is this time I was like, okay, now we've learned so much of the things that I learned. It's really, you have to invest in branding, whether it be via money or time, or just like really figuring out who your target consumer is and, what they care about and all of that. So I hired several different agencies. None of them really worked out, but I hired several different agencies to take a stab at the branding. I was waiting for the, I think, third iteration to come from this Brazilian agency in March of 2020. And they were like, give us a month to turn this around. And I was like, no, that is so long. And then COVID hit. It was wild. COVID hits. And I'm like, I just can't wait, because like, we don't know what's going to happen. We have to launch now. So the first version of this branding, I slapped together in probably less than 2 hours. And it was just like color blocking. So just like a very minimalist, clean label that the hierarchy just said like the brand name, and then essentially what it says right now, which is the product name, and then the critical elements below that. And then since then, we invested in the logo. We spent a ton of money on an agency for that. But that's the only like major change is like the logo. And then that agency chose the 2 other fonts that we use on the label. So it's a very long-winded way of saying that like it was not like the perfect dialed in thing from the start that I was hoping for. But ultimately it worked out and allowed us to test the product, see how people reacted, and then modify the things that we needed to when we realized that they were important.
Well, and I think that's a really good lesson, because to the many event planners listening, you probably have some side hustles you've been dreaming about because you have all these ideas that you get from all the events that you produce. And I think April's example there is that you just have to start before you're ready.
Totally.
Because if you wait to get it all perfect, you might never start.
Totally. And that's something that we continually find. And again, I'm not sure how it works exactly with your community, but I throw ideas out there all the time that are like very early. And again, I'm not misleading anyone saying, oh, it's done. It's like produced. It's waiting for you. But like we just ask our audience for their feedback and their, general thoughts and just observe their reactions and see if things are resonating or not. And I think that is honestly, I think especially as you get to know your audience better, it forms like an amazing relationship building thing in addition to actually helping you craft the new product or launch whatever you're trying to launch.
Well, because they feel like they're a part of your brand, right?
Totally.
Like, I think that's actually incredibly smart.
Thank you.
And I bet that does, I bet that plays very well with millennials and Gen Z for sure.
Yeah. We do have, a sort of broad range of ages. So again, the types of considerations and requests that we get from different age groups tend to be kind of different. But again, we have relationships with a ton of our customers, so always like to hear them. And I'll be honest too, if I'm like, there's no way we can ever do that, but I love you. Sorry.
Absolutely not. But thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Totally.
That's also so brave. I just feel like that is a very brave thing, to be vulnerable enough to ask for honest feedback from an audience and to really actually listen to it. It's really easy to get feedback from people and think, oh my God, well, this client, they just don't know what they're talking about. They don't know.
In our case, I think it's literally, besides the fact that I love making people happy and I want them to enjoy our product and all of that, it's also like a survival skill, because guess what happens if you don't listen to your customers with my type of business? Nobody buys your, can I swear? On this fucking,
yeah.
Nobody buys your shit. Like if you're just like, thanks for the feedback, never happening, or like, these shipping issues that we're having, like we're not going to fix them. Guess what people do? They don't come back. So like it's also helpful from a sales perspective and a customer retention perspective.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard to figure out the shipping so things don't get broken?
No, not really. I mean, there's definitely some trial and error. Like there's actually, we have a video probably from, 4 years ago on our Instagram where it's me putting on, like, I didn't even have safety glasses at the time. So I put on sunglasses inside and I am testing out like our new case packaging. And so I dropped it because it's, that particular case, I think it was 12 pounds, six glass bottles, 12 pounds, like heavy and fragile. And so I dropped it 3 times being like, oh, how does it, is it protecting it? And then on the last one, I was like, I'm just going to throw it. And I throw it and immediately everything shatters. So it's you just figure out what's reasonable, what makes sense from a cost perspective versus we're going to be dealing with a lot of breakage and, customer complaints as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just trial and error. And also talking to people who've done it before helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good transition. We have a segment that we do called What Went Wrong, because we know that every event pro has a story of near disaster, a time when something went sideways in your world. What happened? And April, how did you bounce back?
I'm just trying to think which one I want to highlight because there's so many.
I know.
So many. Okay, well, do you want one that actually was a huge problem or one that almost was a huge problem?
Ooh, well, now I want
whichever
both.
one's a better story.
Yeah, now I want both, actually.
I know.
But take your pick.
I will start with one where things almost became a huge problem. And this was really recent. This was 2 weeks ago.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So we got an order from 600 stores. And this particular customer always wants it in 3 weeks. Now, we don't stock anything in these quantities. And we manufacture in-house. At this point, entirely. Everything we make is in-house. We do work with co-mans as well to produce our product, but not any of these for this order. So anyway, so they want the order in 3 weeks. This is a huge order for us. And it essentially completely prohibited us from doing anything else for I got them to extend the deadline, so 4 weeks. But the problem with this is they're massive. You have to meet the deadline. If you miss the deadline, they can cancel the order and you're stuck with everything you've made. So just
and you're shipping it to 600 different locations?
No, they came and picked up. They came and picked up, and then they distributed to 8 different distribution centers. Yeah, so they pick it up, but there's a ton of paperwork involved. There's a ton of like special like labeling that has to be done that's like dramatically different than what we normally do. But anyway, so the raw materials to get the raw materials for this order, normally it's 2 to 3 weeks between when
to get the materials,
just to get it in, not to make it.
I'm doing the math. I'm mathing.
Yeah. So we need minimally we need 3 weeks fully booked with everyone on our staff plus hire a bunch of new people to get this done in 4 weeks. So anyway, so long story short is I have become, I would say that I'm probably an expert in 2 things. One is getting shit done like this, like with no time and like just by the skin of our teeth. And then the other is like finding sources of capital when you think that there's no options left, which is a huge reality for businesses like mine. So anyway, so yeah, a lot of experience with that. So anyway, so with this, I like strategically plot out the production, the hiring, the whole thing. And then we have all this stuff en route. And the way I staggered it, I was like, okay, here's the interim solution. So we can actually start manufacturing tomorrow, because we have what's called a 3-dimensional supply chain, which is you have a bunch of different vendors who supply the same thing. They have different terms. They have different turnaround time. Some of this stuff, like I can emergency pick up the same day if I'm desperate, which is what I did. Anyway, so have that happening. And then my 2 biggest orders of raw materials coming in, I think it was 9 or 12 pallets of stuff coming into the facility that we had to immediately turn around and put into production. Both of them got stuck, and one of them was perishable, and it was like and then it was like
stuck in customs.
No, stuck in it was actually both of them were stuck in different. I think they're technically called distribution centers. So like when you do freight, it'll be like one truck takes it to one location, then they take it off, load it on, whatever. So they're stuck in the middle, essentially. And so I was like freaking out about one of them. And the second one, I was like, we really have a huge problem if it doesn't happen, like if it doesn't come through. And so ultimately, I'm like harassing the freight people. I'm calling every customer service thing, whatever. And ultimately 2 of these orders should have been delivered 2 to 3 days after they shipped. Both of them were at like 10 and 11 days in transit, and they both arrived the same day that we would have had to I would have had to cancel. I would have had to tell my entire staff, don't even come in this next week because we don't have anything to make. And they came in the one day that we needed to get them. Yeah. So that is just one example. And mind you, I had there were other things that we could have done, but it's just one of those things where like I have been learning, you need to plan for the most catastrophic scenario, which is very similar with events, hope it doesn't happen. And also like, I think trigger the emergency action early, which is like the frantically calling the freight people, but try to stave off panic for as long as you possibly can, because you might just be wasting your like allocation of panic on something that works out okay.
Totally.
It was wild. Yeah.
That makes me feel really sweaty.
I'm sorry.
I feel very anxious right now. Like
I'm sorry. Well, it worked out though.
I'm so glad that it did. I mean, I had a mentor who used to say, I worried and I worried and I worried right up until the time it never happened. So,
I love that.
But I love that, like, you were just in it to win it. Like, you were just going to figure it out. Like,
yeah,
I love hustle culture for that reason. Because I'm just like, there's got to be a part of it, though, like, when it did work out, like, you felt really good, right?
Yeah. I mean, so with that particular order, so we actually also finished we finished all of the crazy markings and packaging things on every single case. We finished those like half an hour after the end of the pickup window stopped for the pickup. Fortunately, they were like 6 hours late. But like, and mind you, but this is each time this customer orders, like we finish like an hour before it has to ship. It's like, but again,
just in time.
No, but like I think so. So the reason this is like a positive story, besides the fact that it did work out and it enabled so many other things that we've been like racing towards over the past, whatever, 2-3 weeks since that pickup happened. Like we are in so much of a stronger place as a result of everything going right with that. But also, you know, the more times we go through these like really frenetic, crazy experiences, the better you get at them. And then the stronger you are because you have more resources, like the experience of like, whatever, these things went wrong. I'm never going to do those again. Or like, you know, I utilize like our COO to do like all of the additional hiring. Now he was great at that anyway, but like we now have an excellent system where it's like, if I need to staff up and get people in the next day, I send him a text. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. And he goes, you got it. And I'm like, this is how many people we need. This is when we need them. This is how many days we need them. And he's got the playbook. So like, I think it's actually a cool thing because like, it's like a muscle. Like the more times you exercise and you do it consistently, like you're stronger.
I love that.
Yeah.
That has a happy ending.
Yeah, it does.
Not just because it all worked out, but for that reason that you just explained.
Yeah. And it's very rewarding.
Besides Cheeky, which you're obviously very passionate and proud about, do you have another big win in your career that you could attribute to, like, if that hadn't happened, there might not be a Cheeky?
I wouldn't say it in that exact way because I tend to think that, like, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Like, if you take unreasonable action, if you get up to bat 1,000 times or 10,000 times or whatever, something positive is going to happen. So like, I don't tend to think about it like if this didn't, then that would be completely out of the picture. But I would say that I feel like I've had a tremendous amount of luck in my entire like career. I put that loosely because I'm like, I feel like I've had 25 different things happening, like different careers. But like from day one, you know, like when I was in restaurants, like my first big career break, 2010, I like randomly, I guess it was auditioned. I kind of auditioned for like a cocktail competition. And that was how I got on the Sundance channel because I won for Boston. And then because of that, you know, press loves to write about press. And so like the sort of local press started writing about, oh, this Boston bartender who did this. And then I, randomly got on a couple of covers of industry magazines for like no good reason. You know, I just was there. You know,
amazing.
No, but right place, right time.
Serious. But so like there have been a lot of things like that where it's like these things have snowballed. And even like with the Today Show, like that happened because I was teaching the cocktail classes. And at one point I was like, okay, I'm teaching at like 3 different schools. I should have like a central place to like show that I do these things. And so I put like a little website together. And then they found me from one of the schools that I was teaching. And then they went to my website and then they found my contact information and they reach out. So like, there's been so many things like that where I'm like, if the first one didn't happen or if the 12th one didn't happen, like I might be in a different place right now.
Sure.
But it all, you know, accumulates.
The big takeaway is just work hard, people.
Yeah. Work hard and just do it. And just make the website, just take the jump, just do it.
Yeah.
Just put the logo in the wrong place or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just get it out there.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Well, 100%. We're going to drop all of your information in the show notes, but for people that are still listening, where can they find you?
Yes. So Cheeky is at Cheeky Cocktails with an S at the end. We're like at Cheeky Cocktails everywhere. I personally am Cheeky April on Instagram. I think my TikTok is like Cheeky April 5. It's like some really weird thing, but you can find me relatively easily. And then I'm on LinkedIn, April Wachtel, and it's not that hard to find us. We come up.
And then if for people not ordering online, are there main stores that they can find your brands?
It's a little weird at this point.
Still weird. Okay,
it's still
online
weird.
Is best.
Online's best. We're on Amazon if that's like easier for people as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We live in the world of Amazon here.
Yes.
And
so it's like shopping local for us. That's what I say when every time that the Amazon shows up at my house, I'm like, yep, I'm just supporting my local community.
Well, you are though. Again, there's a ton of little sellers like ourselves on there. So
it's totally true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, April. You've shown us that making great drinks simple isn't just about cocktails. It's about how event pros can strip away complexity and still deliver unforgettable experiences. And that ties in so well with our mission here at Beats Working, because we celebrate the people who are making the magic happen. And you have certainly been making magic happen in our community for many years in the past, and I'm sure many years to come. So
Thank you so much for
to
having
a new
me.
year, you guys.
Cheers.
2026.
Yeah. Cheers. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And that is a wrap for this episode of Beats Working. If you have an idea or you want to reach out, please slide into our DMs or email us at info@beatsworking.show. And remember, every detail matters, every moment counts. And no matter what, the show must go on. Thanks for listening to Beats Working, Winning the Game of Events, where we explore what it takes to make moments unforgettable.
If you're leaving with a little more inspiration, a little more perspective, and a big side ache from all of the laughing at our funny jokes, then we've done our job.
Beats Working is a Work P2P production. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platforms.
Your support helps us keep the magic going.